Okay, so let's talk about domain and range. If you are given a graph, and it may or may not be a function, but you might be asked to find the domain and range. So let's look at the graph we have here. We know that the domain refers to our x values. And we know that our range refers to our y values. So if we look at the graph here, we're trying to determine what could my domain be. And it might be kind of hard to tell by looking at the graph by itself because you're thinking, oh, well, maybe this point here is -3 and this is a +3. But you have to envision where those arrows are, stretching it out as far as it can go. And it's not necessarily moving up in a straight line, it's a parabola. And so we would say here that what is the most negative it could be? And the answer for the domain would be that it could be anywhere from -infinity to +infinity. Okay? Because if you envision taking those arrows and stretching them out as far as they could go, we can definitely see that it could be any x value. Now the range is going to be a little different. In this particular graph, we look at where does it start, okay? What is the smallest y value on my graph? And I'm going to assume it's right here at the point of origin. So my range is going to be anywhere from 0 to a +infinity because it's going up and up and up infinitely. Okay, now let's take a look at another. In this case, we're given another graph, and I'm assuming here that where it's crossing the y-axis here, that's the -5. And so now let's look at our domain first. Those are our x values, just like the last graph, where it may not be easy for us to tell, but I'm going to assume that I'm pulling those ends out as far as they can go, and it might be however slight, but it's a curve, okay? And so if you think about that going on forever and ever and ever, then I'm going to say that this is from -infinity to infinity for my domain. My range, though, is going to be, once again, a little bit different. And in this case, I'm going to say, well, the smallest value that my y can be here is a -5. So I'm going to say -5. And then think about the biggest value that y can be. And, well, that's going to be infinity. Okay, our example is a little different. So with this first one, we have a sideways looking parabola, okay? So now with that sideways looking parabola, this is not a function, by the way, but I'm going to go, okay, well maybe this point right here is -2. So with my domain now, I have to think about it backwards. I have to think about what is the smallest value that x can be. And in this case, I can see that the smallest value is going to be that -2. And then the largest value it can be, well, it's going to go all the way to infinity for my domain. And in this case, my range is now different. So again, if you think about stretching those arrows out and, pulling by the ends and taking them as far as they can go, the smallest value that my range could be, in this case, is -infinity. Oops. And the largest value that it can be is +infinity. Okay. With the last example, it really depends on the function, but I'm going to consider this to be an exponential function, which means that these values get very steep very quickly sometimes, but I'm still going to envision carrying them out as far as they can ever go, even though it looks like, you may be tempted, in other words, to say that this is a value of some kind here and that that's a straight line. but that is not the case. So you don't mistake that. In other words, think about stretching out these arrows as far as they can go in any direction, okay? So this, in this case, our domain and our range are both negative infinity to infinity. So I'm just going to put a D for domain here because I'm running out of space, to positive infinity, and my range is the same. Okay, I hope that helps to gain a basic understanding of graphs and how to interpret them. And as always, I'm always happy to create more videos for you.